Over 2.5 millennia ago, the Persian Empire stretched from India to Ethiopia. At its helm was King Xerxes, a ruler of unimaginable wealth and absolute power. But even absolute power cannot control the human heart. King Xerxes held a magnificent feast in the capital city of Susa. For 180 days, he displayed the riches of his empire. Golden goblets filled the banquet halls, silk tapestries lined the palace walls, music echoed through chambers of marble and gold. On the seventh day of the feast, filled with wine and pride, Xerxes summoned Queen Vashti. He wanted to display her beauty before the nobles and officials of the empire, but Queen Vashti refused to come. In the Persian Empire, the king's command was law. A queen's defiance was unthinkable. The king burned with rage. His advisors warned him, if the queen's rebellion spreads, women throughout the empire may begin to despise their husbands. And so, Queen Vashti was banished forever. The throne of Persia stood empty. A decree was sent throughout all 127 provinces of the empire. The king's officials were ordered to gather the most beautiful young women and bring them to the royal palace in Susa. The woman who pleased the king most would become the next queen. In the Jewish quarter of the city lived a young woman named Esther. Her Hebrew name was Hadassah. She had lost both her parents while still young. Her older cousin Mordecai had raised her as his own daughter. When the king's men came searching, Esther was taken to the palace. Before she left, Mordecai gave her one important instruction. Do not reveal that you are Jewish. Do not tell them about your family. The empire is unpredictable. Keep our people hidden. Esther obeyed him. For 12 months she underwent royal beauty treatments, 6 months with oil of myrrh, 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. But it was not merely Esther's beauty that won favor. It was her humility, her grace, her quiet wisdom. At last, the day came for Esther to stand before King Xerxes. The king was captivated by her. More than all the others, Esther found favor in his eyes, and Xerxes placed the royal crown upon her head. Esther became queen of Persia. Meanwhile, Mordecai remained near the king's gate. One day he overheard 2 royal guards plotting to assassinate the king. Mordecai immediately sent word to Esther. Esther warned the king in Mordecai's name. The plot was uncovered, the conspirators were executed, and Mordecai's act was recorded in the royal chronicles, but soon forgotten. Sometime later, King Xerxes elevated a man named Haman above all the nobles of the empire. The king commanded that everyone bow before him, and throughout the city, people fell to their knees as Haman passed. Everyone bowed, except Mordecai. Who is this man? Why does he refuse to honor me? He is Mordecai. He is a Jew. Haman's pride turned into hatred, but hatred for Mordecai alone was not enough. Haman wanted every Jew in the Persian Empire destroyed. He approached the king with a carefully crafted lie. There is a certain people scattered throughout your kingdom. Their customs are different. They do not obey the king's laws. It is not in your interest to tolerate them. King Xerxes handed Haman his royal signet ring. With it came the power to create law. A decree was issued across the empire. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, every Jew was to be destroyed. Men, women, children, all annihilated. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes. He wept loudly in the streets of Susa. When Esther heard of his mourning, she sent her servant Hathach to discover why. Mordecai sent back a copy of the decree and a message. Go to the king, beg for mercy, plead for your people. But Esther was terrified. Anyone who approaches the king without being summoned faces death, unless the king extends the golden scepter. And I have not been called for 30 days. Mordecai sent back one final message. Do not think that because you live in the palace, you alone will escape. If you remain silent at this time, deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your family will perish. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Something changed inside Esther. Fear gave way to courage. Gather all the Jews in Susa. Fast for me for 3 days and nights. I and my attendants will do the same. Then I will go to the king. And if I perish, I perish. On the 3rd day, Esther dressed in her royal robes and entered the inner court. The penalty for appearing uninvited was death. The guards tensed. The palace fell silent. The king looked up and saw Esther standing before him. For a moment, everything stopped. Then the king extended the golden scepter. Esther approached and touched its tip. She had found favor. "What is your request, Queen Esther? Even up to half the kingdom, it shall be given to you. Let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared." Haman left the banquet overflowing with pride, until once again he saw Mordecai refusing to bow. His rage returned immediately. That night, Haman ordered a massive gallows built. He planned to ask the king for Mordecai's execution the next morning. But that same night, the king could not sleep. The king ordered the royal chronicles to be read aloud, and there he discovered that Mordecai had once saved his life, yet had never been rewarded. At that very moment, Haman entered the palace court. What should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Haman assumed the king meant him, dress the man in royal robes, place him on the king's horse, and lead him through the city proclaiming his honor. Excellent, do exactly that, for Mordecai the Jew. Haman was humiliated. The man he hated most was now honored before the entire city. At the second banquet, the king again asked Esther her request, and finally, Esther revealed the truth. "My people and I have been sold to be destroyed. Who would dare do such a thing? This vile Haman." The king exploded in fury. Haman collapsed in terror, and the gallows he built for Mordecai became the instrument of his own death. Mordecai received the king's signet ring. A new decree was written. The Jewish people were granted the right to defend themselves, and on the appointed day, their enemies were defeated. Sorrow turned to celebration, fear turned to victory. And every year, the Jewish people remember this deliverance through the festival of Purim, because one young woman found the courage to stand for such a time as this.